The bath was super hot. There are these little red guys, and I kept on
And
shooting
the
them. And
slower you moved.
so I feel really dizzy and thirsty and all that kind of thing. But I stumbled down here in my bathrobe. Hey, that's why they call them bathrobes. And think
It's a
about it.
robe you wear after your bath.
Yeah, I usually just wear them at bed. It's a lie. I wear them after my bath too. I'm trying to make myself more interesting than I am, Ben.
Why bother these
So
days?
yeah, everything is too interesting right now, for sure. So, uh, are we just gonna jump right into what's going on, Ben?
Yeah, you wanna?
Good. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone here is familiar with what's going on right now, but Elden Ring is releasing tonight at 11 p.m. No, that is happening, but that is not what we're talking about. We are talking about Ukraine having Russians in it who are there with weapons and
And
doing stuff.
yeah, it's a whole thing. It's not unexpected either. We were sort of expecting this to happen. Russia has basically been telegraphing that they're going to be doing this. It was just a matter of like when they were going to go in. But
Yeah.
they'd been amassing soldiers and tanks and weaponry on the Russian-Ukraine border for months, I think.
Is it the eastern border or the western border, Ben?
It is Ukraine's eastern border.
So, my understanding is that Russia's statement is that they're liberating the eastern part of Ukraine from the other, that they're there as a peacekeeping force. This is what I've heard their line is.
Yeah, the line is so there are these, from what I understand, there are these separatists in Ukraine who have declared an independent state. These separatists, I am assuming, are pro Russian sympathizers in Ukraine and might even be Russian plants themselves. And Russia is going in to not verify, but help these separatists declare their independence from the evil Ukraine government.
Now, far be it for me to joke at a time like this, but when you said Russian plants, I was like, the bear, obviously a Russian animal. Are there any plants that are specifically Russian?
I'm sure there are, but I do not know what they are.
They don't come to mind, really.
I don't have a wide knowledge of plant names in my
Beets?
head.
No, probably not.
Das
Ben
Beet?
famously, ladies and gentlemen, had a shirt that said "Feel the beat" on it, and it had a picture of a beet root plant.
That was a shirt that I had?
Yeah, you wore it all the
Wow.
time.
I do not. It's funny. I cycle through t-shirts. It feels like I never do. It feels like I wear the same shirts all the time, but I guess I go through periods of like getting rid of clothes and when I get new clothes. It's only the amount of shirts that can fit in my t-shirt drawer, right?
Yep.
When I get when I reach maximum capacity, some shirts have to go. I don't remember that t-shirt. But it doesn't surprise me because I have seen some pictures and video of me from not even just a few years ago wearing a T-shirt that I remember having, but I have not worn in quite some time, and I don't even know. I must have gotten rid of it.
I have to say, Ben, I think this is the most facial hair I've ever seen you grow. Now, I've seen you grow stuff for, like, when we were in the front page, you
I,
grew a mustache.
I did have a mustache for the front
I
page.
believe
Yes.
that you darkened your mustache with mascara for the show. Was that something that
That is
I believe
something
you
I
told
did.
me?
Yeah, because my facial hair is not very dark,
Mm,
and the character that I played had one of his only character descriptions was a small mustache.
yes. And so, in
So,
order to make it stand out,
well,
you
also
put
we did the show in a very large space, and so if anybody sat in the back row, if they, I wanted to make sure that the mustache had a presence.
I think you've heard me talk about this before, but for a while, I had a contingent of people, a group of people
Yeah,
on
good save.
TikTok who were following me specifically because of what I could do with my eyes.
What
Do
you
you remember
can
this?
do with your eyes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're close here, right?
Yeah.
This thing.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. And they would, it was a little bit disturbing because they were always like, "Hey, wow, do you think you could cross them 5 times really fast? Do you
Oh my
think
God.
how far can you go until it starts hurting?" That kind of thing. And all I could think about was the documentary Tickled, and thought that maybe there was this. Oh, you should check it out, Ben. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. Don't want to ruin anything.
Okay, then.
It's a roller coaster of a documentary, Ben.
I'll put it down on the list.
Oh, this is also interesting. There was a documentary that I read a little bit about on Reddit. I don't remember the name of it, and as you know, famously, we don't look stuff up on the show if we're
No. Why
dumb.
would
We're
we?
dumb.
Yeah.
We are fighting against the Googleification and the Wikipedia. I love Wikipedia, but the idea that people will read about something and then call someone that doesn't know the thing that they read 5 minutes ago stupid and ignorant and things like that.
Yeah.
We're trying to fight against that by being realistic about what we know and what we don't.
Yeah.
Don't remember the name of it, but it's a documentary told in stock footage, and there is a rally that's being held at Madison Square Garden, and you're watching it, and there's a big picture of George Washington, and he's surrounded by swastikas. And what it is there's a group, a pro-Hitler group of people meeting in the United States, a large gathering. And people forget that during World War II, there were some people, Charles Lindbergh, famously, also Ford,
So wait,
famously supporting.
what does George Washington have to do with this?
They were using the image of George Washington and American flags and stuff like that
Oh, I
as
see.
iconography.
I have seen a photo of the Nazi Party rally at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And it is remarkable how many, like, of all that it even happened.
Yeah.
But seeing the political culture now, I'm not surprised anymore.
Well, the other thing to think about, and I don't mean to disparage anyone by saying this. I'm just saying one of the other interesting things is the speaker that you hear has a sort of a German accent. And I've talked about this before, but until World War I, right, the church records at the church that my dad preached at for a very long time were in German. German wasn't thought of as being, the foreign language. This idea that English is the only language, stuff like that, wasn't as high back then. And towns around the Midwest were predominantly German speaking.
Yeah.
And things like that. So there wasn't as much xenophobia against Germany as there is xenophobia against Russia. You know what I mean? Like Russia, we spent a long time as kids about Russia being over there and how weird they were. And
well, the Soviets were the bad guys when we were kids.
Yeah. Yep. In all the movies and things like, and yeah, it's funny. It's funny to think about how we I don't know if you feel the same way, but how I as a kid and a young adult didn't recognize propaganda. And what I mean by this is all the bad guys switched from being Russian to being Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
And I don't think you and I had this conversation, but I know that I had conversations with, well, yeah, you can't use Russians in the movies anymore as the bad guys because they aren't the bad guys anymore. And not even thinking about how it's, the tail wagging the dog rather than the other way around. But that being said, there's a TikTok that I did where I go, I'm not an expert on international politics. And then I just let the timer run out. So the same thing, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but the one thing that I will say is that I made a big mistake one time. I might have even talked about this on my podcast, and that mistake has me leaning towards the Ukrainian side of this thing, and that's that when I was a low volt electrical technician, I was working with this guy, Eastern European accent, stuff like that. And I was, Ben, I might have mentioned it on the podcast before that I'm autistic. Part of what happens is that I get interested in little things. And for a while, and here's the thing that people don't know about special interests. You don't have to be good at knowing stuff about the things. You pick up stuff, right? But it may not, some people, will have an encyclopedic knowledge of something. Other times, though, you just get interested in things. I was interested in the time about the cosmonauts, right? And how the Russian space program was ahead of the United States for a long time and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So I was talking to this guy about it for a while. I'm like, yeah, the cosmonauts were better than the U.S. as far as space travel goes for a long time, talking. And he says, I don't care too much about Russian stuff. And I was like, oh, well, that's okay. Okay. And he's like, yeah, I'm Ukrainian. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what that means. And so, when I told Jennifer about that interaction, she was like, okay, Paul, sit down. I need to tell you a little bit about Russia and the Ukraine. And so because I still feel guilty about that interaction with that guy, I have more sympathy for the Ukraine. Because I said the wrong thing to this person. It humanized the conflict for me.
There's also something that I learned embarrassingly recently, but I think a lot of people did too, which is that it's I don't know if it's insulting, but it's not the Ukraine.
Did I say the Ukraine?
A couple times.
Did, I apologize. I apologize to everyone for saying the Ukraine.
The Russia after the Soviet Union broke up. That is something that the Russians.
Shoot.
That is something that the Russians called Ukraine as, I guess, a form of othering it or making it seem like it was not its own land but part of Russia. And Ukrainians hate it.
News did it too.
Yeah,
that's where I picked it up from.
Like everybody did it. I don't even know where I got it from, but I mean, it was in popular culture, and I'm sure there was
especially
where
if I said he said that he was from the Ukraine, he would not have said that, and I have insulted this man a second time.
I don't think he's
apologize.
listening.
Yeah, no. He was very good at his job. Not entirely a joking kind of guy. Very serious, very silent, but
not someone you want to try to take the piss out of.
Right, exactly. And to be fair, he was having to be partnered with me a lot, which
I can see where that will be problematic.
Sometimes doesn't work. Yeah, exactly. So but the main thing is that I apologize. Ukraine. He was from Ukraine. It sounds weird. He was from Ukraine. He was Ukrainian.
Yeah. From
Ukraine. Yeah. So that is happening, and there are a couple of videos that are circulating. One of the ones that I saw was of I'm choosing my words very carefully. A plane that was identified as a Russian-made plane firing a missile that was identified as an unguided missile of Russian make into a residential home. I say all that because, as you know, or as you may know, some people in the United States are pro-Russian. in this situation.
An alarmingly large number of people.
So as soon as somebody said, "Oh, this is a Russian plane shooting into a Ukrainian home," other people are like, "How do you know that that's where that is? How do you know that that's what's happening?" That kind of thing. And so I'm just stating that that's what it looked like. But the interesting thing about this, is a news channel in the United States, and I'm not going to say which news channel, but by context you may be able to tell what the news channel was, kept on saying that the reason that we are in the situation that we are in is that when the former president of the United States tried to make deals with Russia to ensure the safety of everyone in the United States from this sort of conflict, he was branded a traitor to the United States and tried for collusion when all he was trying to do was to keep this from happening.
Yeah.
And that was a news channel in the United States saying that, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, you could probably guess which one.
Interestingly enough, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ben.
The channel that is alarmingly pro-Russian these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that is that all the people that I know who were very anti-Russian, like kids who were pretending to shoot Russians on a daily basis, pretending to disarm Russian bombs and things like that, grew up to be people that now are defending Russia.
Well, yeah. I mean, back when we were kids, it would have been the Soviets, not the Russians.
Yeah, true. Oh, speaking about that, Ben,
Paul.
it's time for us to come clean about something.
Oh, God.
Did you watch The Dukes of Hazzard as a kid?
I did. I loved it.
I did also. I loved it as well. Okay, here's the question, Ben. Did you have an OC, an original character in the Dukes of Hazzard universe that you created?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay, so I created a character for myself whose name was Hey Duke, Hay, named after Hay. And there was a whole Who's on First thing that he had with Boss Hogg, where he said, "Hey Duke, what's your name?" And I said, "Hey Duke." And then Bo said, "What?" And then it all went around like that. I was a weird kid. Here's the thing about it.
Yeah.
As we know, Dukes of Hazzard, not great. As far as optics go, it has the stars and bars on top of the General Lee, which is the name of the car that they drive, all that sort of thing. But I just thought of something that is really kind of interesting. Dukes of Hazzard, kind of one of the only ACAB TV shows I can think of. They are fighting against a corrupt local government and their police force.
Yes. And
now,
the police
Enos,
force is resoundingly incompetent. They're not evil, they're incompetent.
Right.
They're clowns.
And I'm sure that I mean, Enos, everybody liked Enos, right? He was one of the deputies, I believe, who but Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane, right? Was kind of a bad guy, sort of. Boss Hogg was bad for sure. Oh, do you remember also? Sorry, I don't know why I'm going off on this, but I just blocked out a whole bunch of Dukes of Hazzard stuff in my head for obvious reasons.
And
but
now
did
it's coming roaring back.
It was based off of a movie that was about moonshiners.
I did not know that, but that sounds legit.
And the big thing that who was the announcer? Well, about that time, them Duke boys
Oh
That
my
Merle
god.
Haggard?
No, it was I want to say it was one of the like a who's the guy who sang the football theme? Are you ready for some football?
No, really?
It was that guy's dad.
Oh, okay. All right.
Somebody
Hank.
senior.
Wait,
Hank
Hank Williams?
Hank Williams. I
I
want to
don't think
say
it was Hank Williams. Oh, that'd be weird. That'd be weird. But Waylon Jennings.
Waylon Jennings. Yeah.
Was it? Maybe. Okay, anyway, here's the thing. That
actually
was in
looking
that
this
movie. What?
I'm actually looking that up.
Oh, okay. So I think it might have been Waylon Jennings. It wasn't Jerry Reed. I know that.
No, Jerry Reed was he was in the Smoking the Bandit franchise. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I will also say, embarrassingly, something that happened when people were talking about Daisy Dukes, the shorts.
Yeah.
I wanted a pair of them because they looked really comfortable.
It was Waylon Jennings.
Hey,
The Balladeer.
how did I know? But anyway, he did the same thing in the original film. So sorry, Ben. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Boss Hogg. His full name is Jefferson Davis Hogg. Do you remember that he had a twin brother who was good? He wore a black suit, and his name was Abraham Lincoln Hogg. True story. Anyway.
I recently tried to find an episode of Dukes of Hazzard because I just finished watching Mad Men, the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the characters in Mad Men, Burt Cooper, played by, oh my gosh, for whatever reason, I'm just not remembering anything today. Anyway, the guy who played Burt Cooper was in the musical from like the 60s, How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. But he played a relative of Boss Hogg's in an episode of Dukes of Hazzard.
Really?
And yeah, but he wasn't the good. He wasn't like a good version of Boss Hogg. He was like a schemer and a plotter. And
Gotcha.
And I tried to find that episode online, and oddly enough, I didn't really want to sit through a bunch of Dukes of Hazzard episodes just to see a performance of one particular actor.
Did you ever see Succession?
Robert Morse. No, but that's on the next. That's next on the list.
Wait, Robert Morse?
Yeah, Robert Morse is the name of the guy who played Burt Cooper.
Robert Morse sounds really familiar. Was he in a lot of different things?
He's been around. I mean,
I think he was in a show called Brotherhood of the Rose that was a spy thing.
There's another actor named David Morse who's been in a number of things.
That might be
The Rock for one. But
yeah, that might be who I'm thinking of then.
Yeah.
Hack, the TV show called Hack. He was in. Anyway, but the main thing. Do you remember when we used to do before there was IMDb and we used to just do this like, oh, this actor's in this thing using just our brains?
Yeah. Right?
IMDb took that away from me, Ben. That was one of my...
I still play that game of when I try to come up with the name of an actor or something somebody has been in, am I going to remember it before I'm able to pull it up on the app?
Yep. True. One of the things, and you know, I've mentioned being autistic before, people are like, well, what's your special interest? And it took me a while to realize comedy stuff. Like funny things, how jokes work, things like that. That was always kind of an obsession of mine. This guy that I'm friends with on TikTok and we play games online. We've never met in person, but he made a statement that not many people are funny. And I wrote to him. And I said, I'm glad that you told them because I didn't have the heart to get ahead of the idea of am I one of the ones that's funny? Because it is a concern. Even though I get told that, you know, the whole reason why I got into comedy in the first place. And you know, famously, Ben, are not stand-ups. We are not sketch comedians. We are not improv comedians. We are performance artists, which give us a sort of latitude of if it's not funny, that's fine.
That's part of it.
Wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, I was told as a kid that I wasn't funny. But people laughed at things that I said. And I couldn't figure out how those two things worked out. So
They're not laughing with you, they're laughing at you.
And if someone does search the audio of all of our podcasts, they'll find me making this statement before, but it's totally true. It can be weird watching any sort of comedy show with me because I'm looking at the screen, but then I'm also looking at you, whoever is watching it with me, to see when they react, what things they think are funny, and it just all gets filed away into the noggin.
Well, speaking of comedy, we lost a pretty influential figure in the comedy world, for me at least. The amazing Jonathan passed away yesterday.
No, Ben, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What did he pass away from?
He had a heart condition that was diagnosed in like 2007 and was told, I think even as far back as then, I know like in 2014, his doctors were like, you have 6 months left. And so he basically retired and then waiting to die. And then he just kept not dying. And so he's like, all right, I'm going back out on the road because, I'm still here. I was expecting, doctors told me I was going to die 5 years ago, but I'm still here. So he started touring again. And then it finally caught up with him, and he passed away yesterday.
So
I don't know what the exact thing was, but it's some sort of congestive heart failure.
Did you see his documentary, or the documentary on him?
Yeah, I watched like half of it, and I had to stop watching. I think I just found it too depressing.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. This is the thing that I to this day don't know. Right? The documentary, spoilers for the Amazing Jonathan documentary. The documentary goes, and probably the part where you dipped out, goes into the fact that he smokes meth all the time.
Yeah.
And the thing that I couldn't figure out from that documentary is, okay, one of two things is going on here. Either one, he smokes meth all the time, which is, an amazing thing to find out about him, and okay, that's something. Or
he's pulling an Andy Kaufman on us.
Or he said, this would be a funny thing to do for the documentary. Let's say that I have a meth habit. And it's one of those things of, eventually I was like, which one this is doesn't matter. Which one it is doesn't matter in the end. I'm not friends with him. I'm not going to hang out with him or anything like that. It's kind of none of my business. If I would think that he was brilliant for faking it, but be mad if he actually was doing it, what does that say about me? All this kind of stuff. But anyway, I watched the whole thing. And so that's why when I asked when he died, if you had said meth overdose, I would have been like, aha. But
no. I mean, if he was actually smoking meth and had been for quite some time, I'm sure that didn't help.
Yeah, one would say for sure. But yeah, the documentarian, I forget what his name is, but the documentary is one that starts out being about the Amazing Jonathan, and then becomes a little bit about himself, and then gets tied up in the end.
Yeah.
With the main story. So what I'm saying is, just coming from a filmmaking perspective, if you're doing a documentary on the Amazing Jonathan and then find out halfway through that he is a meth addict,
you probably should have done your homework before you started filming.
Well, I was going to say you might pad it a little bit more.
Yeah.
With stuff about yourself. So I don't know. Or they're both in on it, and it's a funny thing they did. I'm not sure which.
You never know with him, and now we will never know.
Yeah. There's the Amazing Randy documentary as well, which is interesting. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it. I'm not really versed in the comings and goings of the Amazing Randy as much as I was with the Amazing Jonathan.
Well, the big thing is he's a debunker of
Yeah,
psychics and things like that.
I did
But
see his appearance on the YouTube channel Captain Disillusion.
oh, I don't know what that is.
Captain Disillusion is a YouTuber who debunks videos like you know, people send him these like, is this for real kind of video, and he actually goes through, analyzes it, and tells you why it's fake.
Oh man, I would like to see that. That's a
Look
good
him
channel
up
for me to
on
check
the
out.
YouTubes.
Because you know me, Ben, I keep on trying to ground myself in science because where my brain goes just naturally is in strange fictional places.
Yeah.
I am I'm happy to report that I have an object from my childhood that has shown up in 1985 or 86, sometime around then. I got a Doctor Who role-playing game
Okay.
that was put out by FASA, F-A-S-A. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. They did BattleTech. They also did the Star Trek role-playing game. And there's a new Doctor Who role-playing game coming out that is going to be using the Dungeons and Dragons 5e rules, kind of, or a variation on that. And you know me, I'm friends with some folks that are not really down on the 5e stuff. And the thing is that this company that is doing their 5e Doctor Who role-playing game had a different system that they were using, and they've pivoted to now they're going to be using this 5e system. And everyone's like, I like the old Doctor Who role-playing game better. And I was like, you want to talk the old Doctor Who role-playing game? And then I got this one. And it's great. It's just holding something that I completely trashed as a kid.
Is
you know, the box was all broken and all
so
that.
So it's the same one you didn't buy as from eBay or anything like that?
I bought it from, no, this is the one that I bought from Abe Books. So it is the same set, but it's not the same one that I had. The same one that I had
Gotcha.
Is trashed somewhere.
Destroyed. Or your dad threw it out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird what he throws out. He has thrown some things out. Usually anything that's at all adult in nature, he usually gets rid of. Or at one point in time, he had a cardboard box that held a whole bunch of my own, like, dirty sketchbooks and, you know, comic books and stuff like that. And he just labeled it D for disgusting. And he said, here, I labeled this D for disgusting. And I'm like, okay, thank you. So
it's not labeled D for dad?
Hey, yeah. It was until I showed up. This. Exactly. No. Oh man, I prefer him thinking it's disgusting than thinking that he was like, oh, better keep this for dad, little something for dad in the crawl space. No, not great. So yeah, that was kind of fun looking at that stuff. Do you have anything that you have from like 85 that you take out every once in a while and you're like, oh, look at that? Or do you have anything that you miss from that time that you would like to see?
I don't know. Like when we were heavy into doing the comic book podcast, I was always a little disappointed that I let all the Transformers and basically all the toys that I had as a kid go. Like I went through this phase of like high school and going into college. I just told my mom that she could get rid of everything because I don't need my toys anymore. But nowadays I'm like, yeah, that Y-wing that I had,
oh my gosh,
would be, be kind of cool. I mean, granted, it was trashed because I played with it. I didn't keep it as a something to accumulate in value that I could.
GI Joes were something that I trashed all the time.
Yeah,
I had a lot of GI Joes, and we would like blow them up with firecrackers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever take one apart?
The which one? The like the 5 1/4 inch
Yeah.
GI Joes. I probably broke them, and so I saw how the joints work. I don't think I specifically took them apart though.
There's a rubber band that joins the torso to the pelvis.
Yes.
That was one of the ways that they got to. I thought they were great. I mean, now granted, war, not so cool, but
Yeah, GI Joe
but
is
the
just
art,
indoctrinating children into thinking it's okay to go fight battles for to be a patriot and go to war.
the articulation on the GI Joes was good. They are probably, if you were to ask me what a good action figure is, you know, cheap wise versus all that. Snow Job, for instance, I had Snow Job, who actually, when I grow my beard out, I look a little bit like Snow Job. And now that I think about it, being called Snow Job, not the greatest when
I'm
I say it
not.
out loud.
I'm not familiar with that specific character.
He is a skier,
Yeah. Okay.
skiing guy. But
There's
he had
a big old
a beard
bushy
and a
beard.
parka.
There's a
Yeah.
TV show on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us. I don't know if we've talked about this before.
No, I don't think we have.
If you have the Netflix, you should go watch the G.I. Joe's episode, or any of the episodes if you had any of the toys. They're all great, even if you didn't collect them. They're all it's pretty steeped in mostly 80s nostalgia, because that's when that's when the filmmakers came of age, and so that's the toys that they focus on. But lots of like Star Trek, Star Wars, Transformers, GI Joe, My Little Pony, Barbie.
Yeah.
It spans the gamut.
Oh, also I've been watching Severance. I've only seen 2 episodes so far, but it's really good. It's on Apple.
Yeah,
Apple
that just dropped, right?
Yeah. And the reason I wanted to mention it is that once again, when I'm watching it, Ben, I'm casting it in my head, and you're the main character. You're the Adam Scott character in my head.
Adam
I don't know
Scott.
why. For me, you've always had leading man energy.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's
No
true.
casting
Closure.
directors think that, but I appreciate that you think that.
Yeah, I don't know. Casting directors don't know what they're missing.
Hey.
But anyway, it's good for sure. And the other thing I was going to say is Gary Brooker died.
Yes.
Gary Brooker did, as you know, the whiter song "A Whiter Shade of Pale," and I did a cover of it and uploaded it to my YouTube, not my YouTube, my TikTok, like you do. And they muted it, saying that it had a song that wasn't used in the way it's supposed to be used.
Wait, what?
But it was my cover of it, right? It wasn't that song. It was, and the only thing I can think of is that I wasn't the one singing it. In the video, it was, when I say I wasn't the one singing it, I mean it was me. It was my song, but I had pre-recorded it and uploaded it with just a blank screen with the name of the song on it. And I thought up until this afternoon that that's what did it, right? They looked at the thing, no real video, a name of a song, and then a music track. This is probably somebody ripping a song and putting it up on TikTok for views. So we're going to take it down.
Yeah.
But this other guy did a song with it was his original song that he did himself over a video of his 3D printing.
Okay.
And that got taken down too. And what we've started to talk about, the TikTok community, as it were, is that anytime this weird thing, this is taken down, I don't get it, and what are they doing over there? They probably are training a new AI. They're automating because they have so many users.
It's this AI's first day on the job. It's going to get some things wrong.
Exactly. But the difference is that this one didn't have an appeal button. Normally they do. Normally they have appeal buttons. But this one did not. So I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help train the AI. But one of the things I wanted to use TikTok for was to make music stuff and have the music show up. But instead, I put it up to my SoundCloud. And I forgot that I had a SoundCloud and how many songs I have in my SoundCloud. I used to make music a lot, Ben.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm oh yeahing of the fact that you have a SoundCloud, not that you make music a lot. Because yeah, I've been around you.
Well, you are part of the music that I've made. You are a participant, a dare I say co-collaborator, and all that.
What's wrong?
My funk won't start. Oh, speaking
Uh,
about which,
yeah.
ice storm again.
Out there in the
Betty,
Midwest.
yep, Betty didn't have school, and it was funny because over the weekend, it was in the 60s.
Yeah.
It was in the 60s, then it dropped to 19.
We had snow Monday night, but it and it's been super cold, but it didn't really stick around. But yeah, it's been real cold here, like unseasonably cold.
Hey, speaking about stick around, Foo Fighters are doing a horror movie, which is
Yes.
weird. I
Yeah.
think
Did you see the trailer for it?
it's surprisingly interesting.
It looks. It doesn't look. I mean, it's. It looks like a fun B movie horror flick, which
Yep,
I'm all for.
I kind of wish Michel Gondry had directed it, but
Did Dave Grohl
um,
direct it? It sounds like something he would do.
maybe he did. I bet you it's possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's fun. That's a fun thing. Um, Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl. Talk about when life hands you lemons, all that. Uh, he he really came out of that all right. Chris Novoselic, maybe. I mean, he's doing his own thing.
Well, yeah, Chris, he has an interesting career since then. He was into, like, he shifted to, like, public policy.
Yep.
But I've heard some things from him lately that leads me to believe he is more politically right leaning than
Oh no.
I would want my grunge heroes to be.
Oh no.
Um,
That's too
but
bad.
Dave Grohl, yeah, I mean, there was a story. I'm gonna butcher it, but like they were Nirvana was backstage somewhere on tour, and Dave Grohl had just like picked up a guitar and just started playing it, and somebody and Kurt Cobain said something to the effect of, he's not just the best drummer in the band, he's also the best guitarist in the band, or something like that. He's always
Nice.
had that sort of, musical aptitude, but he's also like just like a down to earth kind of dude, because I've seen a lot of interviews with him, and he's just like, he's a regular dad. He drives his daughters to school in a van. The van happened to be like the first touring van the Foo Fighters had, but still, it's like he just
That
sounds like a real regular guy.
that is interesting. The difference between Nirvana and the Beatles, Ben. Um,
About 40 years.
Ringo isn't the best drummer in the world. He's not even the best drummer in the band.
Yep.
Versus he's not only the best drummer, he's the best guitarist.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I probably told this story in the podcast before, but when I was in college, I was hanging out in the Ave, and I walked into Tower Records, and I'm just looking at CDs, because that's what you do when you're a poor kid in college. You fantasize about throwing down $20 for a CD. And as I was walking out, I look over to this dude, and I'm like, oh, that guy kind of looks familiar. I wonder if he's in one of my classes. And then when I get outside, it hits me that was Dave Grohl. So I U-turn, I come back into the Tower Records, and I stand next to him. He's like, look, he's flipping through CDs, and I'm flipping through CDs, and I pretend to take out, coincidentally enough, the first Soul Coughing CD I already had, and I'm looking over the track just as an excuse to like stand there and like, do I say something? Do I introduce myself? This was after Kurt Cobain had passed away. I think after the first Foo Fighters album had come out, but they weren't like yet big international stars,
Yeah.
So Dave Grohl could still just like hang out at the Tower Records on the Ave, and nobody would bother him. I eventually, came to my senses. I'm like, don't bother the dude. So
Oh,
so I walked away, and then I went back to my dorm. Like, I just saw Dave Grohl at Tower Records.
I keep on thinking about how I could have pushed Jeff Bezos off of a Segway one time, and I didn't. And I had the impulse. This is the crazy thing, Ben. I had the impulse to do it, and I didn't. And I'm wondering if I'm a time traveler who's failed my mission. But I, to be fair, I get impulses to do stuff all the time that I don't do. So I think that this worked out pretty well. It's one of the reasons I don't drink.
Why was he just tooling around the building on a Segway?
He was tooling around the building on a Segway, and just people were talking to him, and I was close enough that I could have. The other thing is, I've told you before about my prophetic dream about him.
What's that?
It was while I was working for him too. He was at okay, what's the is it the swan dive, the Pilates move where your arms are up and your legs are up and you're kind of rocking back and forth?
Yeah, swan dive, I think is what it's called.
I had a dream that he was poolside at a pool with a golden statue of himself. The statue was in the swan dive position. It had a painted face with like grease paint on it, like a mime kind of, and he was like riding it like a horse and slapping the golden butt of the statue. And I woke up. And I was like, having been raised Lutheran, I was like, this is obviously some sort of prophetic dream that I need to tell him. Like Daniel had to tell, I believe it was Nebuchadnezzar, I want to say. I don't know if that's the right guy. But anyway, I didn't. And who knows? Maybe I should have done one of those two things, but I never did.
Yeah, because I worked for, like you worked for now as one of the world's richest men, mostly reviled. I worked for a dude who was at one point one of the world's richest men, but gave so much away he fell off that chart. Never got close enough to being able to push him off a Segway, though.
I think it's very possible that when we both worked for these men, your guy was richer than my guy for a little bit.
It's possible, because this was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just so it's known, I never would have hurt anybody, Ben.
No, of course not. And if he was on a Segway, if you pushed him, the Segway would have just countered, and he wouldn't have fallen off.
Oh yeah, that's probably why I didn't do it. Didn't run the numbers myself. But my lizard brain was like, wait, there's something going on. He's got some sorcery happening. Yeah. I think if you push it sideways, it would fall over.
Have you ever ridden one?
I have. That's why I think maybe it would have fallen over.
I've never been on one.
Although I might be thinking of a big dog. If you kick a big dog, it'll stumble, and they're
You're
doing a lot better
Boston
now.
Dynamics, yeah.
Yeah, Boston Dynamics big dog. That's yeah. Well, one day, Ben, warfare. We'll see them. This is kind of smart. The people, how they're like, oh, they're gonna have guns on those things eventually. What people didn't think about is that Boston Dynamics doesn't have to put guns on them. Somebody made a gun that fits on the Boston Dynamics animal. So there you go.
So whole bunch of aftermarket parts you can buy for your big dog.
Exactly. And then I think the way it works is it's remote control. So it doesn't decide to fire. It's just that you have your gun on top of this thing and it's walking, and then you can decide what to point at and what to shoot.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Elden Ring, 5 hours from now, gonna be available for Jennifer to play because I will not be staying up that late.
So that is a video game.
It is. Oh, Ben, do you not know about Elden Ring?
I've never heard of it.
There's kind of a joke. Me saying it is sort of a joke. I did download it. I am going to play it, but it's a game that is not released yet, but will be released soon. that is written by George R.R. Martin. So that was my joke about, oh no, Elden Ring, can't talk about it, can't do anything. Based on, of course, me almost ruining the relationship with everybody I ever had fan casting Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Which Jennifer still gets mad whenever I bring it up. But she doesn't listen to the podcast anymore. So there you go.
Well, there you go.
You were not as angry with me about it, but I'm sure it could get tiresome a little bit.
No, however, it did lead me to not watch Game of Thrones until many, many years after it had started.
Same thing happened with Jennifer.
I was sort of like, I wasn't boycotting the show. I had just heard enough about it that I was no longer interested. And so everybody was like, it was probably like well into the 4th season. I'm finally like, fine, I'll watch this stupid TV show. And then I ended up really liking it.
I never watched the 8th season.
Oh yeah, you don't need to.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
I think it's a great capper for the story as well.
Yeah.
I will say that I called it. There was a chance that it wasn't going to do well. They didn't give it its 2nd season right away. And people thought that it wasn't going to catch on for a little bit. But it did.
I'm one episode away from finishing Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about it after that.
Or as it appears to be, Book of Boba... Oh, no, wait. We're watching a different TV show now.
Book of Boba Fett. Oops, all Mandos. Hey, what's happening?
Exactly.
Somebody
said something like, I'm really enjoying Mandalorian Season 2.5, but this Boba Fett B-plot's really getting in the way.
This is an amazing thing about the Book of Boba Fett, and more importantly, about the guy Jon Favreau. In that, I'm watching a TV show based on Boba Fett, which is awesome. Yeah. Hey, this is great. Book of Boba Fett, this is amazing. And then the Mandalorian, a character that he created, shows up, and I'm like, oh wow, let's watch this guy instead. This is thing. I've told you before the story. Let's say we're almost out of time. Let's go ahead and listen to it again. This is a story that we've told on this podcast many times, but it's an oldie but a goodie. So my introduction to Star Wars was my introduction to my brother Dan. Dan was really big into Star Wars. He had a vinyl record that had lines from the movie, like audio clips from the movie.
Yeah. And
he had the novelization. And so I was able to read the novelization. I was able to listen to the audio. And I was able to play with his Star Wars figures. He let me play with his Star Wars figures. And that was really cool. But I had never seen Star Wars, the actual movie. And he let me play. He was very much like, you can't play with Luke, you can't play with Darth Vader, that kind of thing. But he let me play with Greedo, which I loved because Greedo was green, my favorite color. And Greedo went on so many adventures. I got a little cocktail sword that you put in a cocktail, and he would carry that around. And Greedo could fly, and he could jump for a really long distance and not get hurt. Just all these adventures with Greedo. Fisher Price Adventure people and Greedo would hang out together. Greedo all the time. It was great. Then I got to see The Empire Strikes Back at the Wildey Theater, the theater on Main Street that I don't know if you saw it, but when you came to Edwardsville to visit me,
I don't recall any theater. No,
it's an old movie theater on Main Street. I saw The Empire Strikes Back there, and it was amazing. It was great. And then Ben, I don't know if it was before or after Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back, I had an Ewok t-shirt and all that. But eventually, Ben, we got a VHS VCR, and I was able to see Star Wars, and I was so excited because I finally would get to see my hero of Star Wars, my main man, Greedo, in Star Wars, actually live action Star Wars Greedo. And I was like, when's it happening? When is it happening? And my brother Dan's like, almost after Luke leaves, then he's going to come in. So Greedo comes in, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Finally, from this point forward, it's all Greedo. And then that happened. And so what I'm saying is Han shot first, Ben. Han shot first.
Roundabout way of telling us that it's something everybody knows except George Lucas.
But anyway, yeah. So it was a big buildup, and then he's in it for like 5 seconds, and then he's dead. So
and he's dead.
Felt bad. So I'd love to see. Oh man, if they would do a series. Oh man, if Jon Favreau would make a Greedo series, I would be over the moon. That would be incredible.
There are Greedos in the universe that they've created. I don't know what that specific race is called, but
yeah, they aren't called Greedos, Ben. Wow. Amazing, Ben. Amazing.
No,
the Ukraine. Greedos. I get busted down for that, but Greedos, my lord. Granted, of course, fictional characters versus real people. There's a big difference, and I want to acknowledge that for the people listening to the podcast. Speaking about the people listening to the podcast, anybody show up from our friends?
Nope, none whatsoever.
Oh well, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. I'm happy that we were here and that we got a chance to talk. And Ben, have you seen Edward today?
Hey, Edward.
I show him every once in a while. Let me put him up close to the camera so you can see just how cute of a dog he is. Look at his ears. I want to see the baby.
He can fly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we still have a little bit of time, Ben. Anything that you want to plug or talk about?
No, I'm once we finish off here, I'm just gonna finish off some quick work and then go home.
Hey, all right. Well, Ben, between now and the time that you go home and the time that we talk next, there's going to be a lot of things that are happening. You're going to see a lot of things on the news, probably a lot of pundits talking about things, and I'm vamping. This is taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I mean, it's taking a lot less time than I thought it was going to. All right, 30 seconds left. Ben, let me tell you something. Am I the one who wants to run out the clock? Maybe so. But when I do, it's always with the best of intentions, because I want you, like everyone else who listens to this podcast, to do their very best between now and the next time they talk to keep it wrong.
Wow, that was impressive. And Paul, Goody, I hope that you keep it wrong too, and I will talk to you next week.
All right, talk to you next week. Keep it wrong.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, see, that's a clever thing.